Produce on Jungerman Road or at anthonysproduce.com. Open 7 days a week.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
News Talk STL is celebrating our 5th birthday. And we're giving away a limited edition News Talk STL America 250 t-shirts. It's exclusive, it's collectible, and it could be yours. Just head to newstalkstl.com to register.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, News Talk.
Been listening since day one.
Happy birthday to my talk station.
5 years, happy birthday.
News Talk STL.
News Talk STL. Happy birthday to us, and good luck to you. From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to Wednesday afternoon. Another week is flying by here on Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. I am Tony Colombo in studio with producer Ashlyn, and we've got a lot to talk about today. We are now less than 2 weeks away from the August primaries here in Missouri. Very important election day. Very influential, impactful election day coming up, and we are going to dig into the issues, continue the conversation about the important issues on that ballot when we talk to our Missouri political insider a little bit later on this afternoon. In just a little more than a half an hour from now, around 2:40 this afternoon, we're going to be joined by our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd. I want to remind you that we also on our website, newstalkstl.com, have the sample ballots up. So if you want to preview the ballot and see exactly what's going to be on your specific ballot, we have all of them up there from St. Charles County, St. Louis County, Jefferson County, Lincoln, everybody around the St. Louis area. You can go on there and you can see the ballot, so you know exactly the issues, the races, the things that are going to be on your ballot in less than 2 weeks. 2 weeks from yesterday, Tuesday, the 4th. And, many of those issues are universal for all Missouri voters, like Amendment 4 and Amendment 5 and Amendment 1. And we're going to dig into those issues. But there's also lots of, even more hyper-local issues, like the county executive races in St. Louis County and St. Charles County. You've got the various congressional races as well. So, and state representative races. So you want to get a full understanding of exactly what's on your ballot. Go to newstalkstl.com. Check out the sample ballots right there. You'll see it right there you'll see the link for it right there on the front page of our website. Also, today we are going to get you caught up on what is happening with the United States and Iran. There's more talk today about at least a faction within the Trump administration that is once again pursuing negotiations. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I'm not sure that any of us are ready for a return to some kind of an announcement of another negotiation period, another 60-day pause or whatever it may be this time. So I want to dig into some of the reports regarding that and some of the other things happening around the situation with Iran. Including one, that one's got me a little concerned. There's also some headlines out of the Iranian conflict that has me more optimistic. As the president today, I guess it was late yesterday, officially, made the statement that for every ship in the Strait of Hormuz that Iran shoots at, targets, whatever, the United States will blow up either a bridge or a power plant or some other piece of infrastructure inside of Iran. An eye for an eye sort of approach. And I'll tell you what, I like that approach a lot better than some of the other things that we've talked about recently. So we're going to get you caught up on all of that. We've got another report from the White House task force to eliminate fraud. Another fraud scheme has been uncovered. And what a surprise. This one is attached to two states. I bet you can guess. California and Minnesota. Minnesota. What a disaster. Who talked about Minnesota until a couple of years ago, and Tim Walz was introduced we all got to know Tim Walz and get a much closer look at how he runs things and what's going on up there in Minnesota. I mean, we all know about Ilhan Omar, and we all know about Keith Ellison. I can't believe Keith Ellison still has a job in politics. I can't believe that people still vote for this guy. A long history of very serious accusations of abuse, among other things, when it comes to Keith Ellison. But even though we knew that there were these people up there and they weren't great, and they popped up individually in the news every now and then, who knew that Minnesota just was such an absolute, utter disaster? It'd be real interesting to see if the people of Minnesota do anything about it in these upcoming elections. So we're going to talk about that. We've got an interesting exchange that I'm going to play you some sound from here in a little bit between the director of the Smithsonian History Museum and Congresswoman Nancy Mace yesterday on Capitol Hill. Once again, a congressperson posed the impossible to answer question of what is a woman, and then let the show begin. So we'll get into that. Also, Zoran Madani has officially suspended his investigation, his attempt, his legal case, whatever you want to call it, in his attempt to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. He's officially declared defeat. So he's getting mocked a bit today on social media, deservedly. So, whole lot to get into as we go through the afternoon. I mentioned we're going to talk to our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd, here in just a little bit later this hour in the 3 o'clock hour. as we always do on Wednesday. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to open up Close's cabinet and talk to our buddy Mark Close from KC95. Also in the 3 o'clock hour today, I'm really looking forward to this at about 3:40 this afternoon. It's been a long time since we've had Pastor John Michael Brown on the air with us, and the pastor is going to be with us later on in the show at about 3:40, so looking forward to that conversation. And right now, on a busy day like today, you got to start with your best. You got to lead with your strongest players, and that is why we have on the line with us right now our intrepid Cub reporter in the field, once again checking in from some corner of the globe as he continues to track and cover all the important stories that affect your lives. Producer Stel Ponticus, the great Stel Babe, is with us. Stel, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Tony. How are you, buddy? Boy, that's a lot for me to live up to.
You know, hey, you do. Hey, listen, your reputation speaks for itself. Always great to talk to you, buddy. I actually want to start all of that stuff that I just laid out, and I'm going to start with something that I don't think you could have predicted or seen coming. But you are the perfect person to talk about this story with. I'm sure you saw it. I didn't talk about it yesterday. I'm glad that I didn't, because I again, you're the perfect person to have this conversation with. Did you see the video from the Chicago Cubs game over the weekend of an older man, Cubs fan, slapping a younger man, also a Cubs fan, because the younger man wouldn't stand for the national anthem? Did you see
I heard about that, but I did not see the video.
Oh, it's out there, baby.
Oh, man.
And I highly recommend that you go and check it out. And just to start it, just to to get this out of the way at the beginning, when I saw this story and I saw various headlines, a lot of the headlines or a lot of the sub-headlines or opening, sort of summary of the stories made it sound like the older man who did the slapping slapped a kid. Like, and a lot of them, like a young person was like, they were like using terms like young person or younger person, or like almost making it sound like it was a kid. It was
like a 10-year-old.
Yeah, which would be a totally different story. And it's not the case. He slapped a full-grown man with like facial hair and, clearly somebody that was at least in his mid to late 20s. The guy who slapped him, just looked like middle-aged. It wasn't like, it keeps being reported like old man slaps kid. It was like one guy slapped another guy, basically, is more accurate. This was Sunday before the Chicago Cubs and Minnesota Twins game. So this guy's standing for the national anthem. You can hear in the video, like, it's somebody who's on a cell phone. You can hear the anthem, and you see this guy, like, just telling this guy's like slouched in his seat. I don't know if he was like if he's like, I'm not standing for the anthem, or if he was just like being too cool for the room or whatever it is. This guy tells him to stand up. Guy says, I'm not going to stand up. He's like, you better stand up. Says he's not going to stand up. And he just gives him the old, like, it wasn't like one of those like slaps from the slap competition professional league that you see now on television. It was just one of those like back across the back of the head, like you would like to teach somebody a lesson, like, you better get your butt up. And the guy's like, oh, fine, okay, I will. And he got largely a very positive reaction from all the people around him in the stadium and on social media. Actually, surprisingly, more positive reaction than I thought, and I think actually a majority of it. But of course, what the other side is saying, about a crazy, patriot. Which is a negative these days. You must be some kind of MAGA extremist if you want to stand for the national anthem in 2026. So you know what the other side is saying, that this is, violence, and this is how these extreme Trump people, behave, which is just absolutely ridiculous. What do you think? I'm never the person to endorse violence. Even if somebody deserves it many times, it's like, it's not appropriate. But I can't get too upset or worked up about about this exchange. What do you make of it still?
If it were me, I probably would have just shouted at the kid. I'm sorry, not kid, at the young man and asked him why he's not standing. I don't know if there was anything that precipitated the uh, the fact that he
Yeah.
needed to slap the guy,
Yeah.
but I would have at least maybe shouted something out just to bring some attention to the situation. And I don't know, I probably would have let it go for the moment. So the fact that he hit him, that was an interesting track to take. I wouldn't have expected that at all.
And then when the guy did stand up, when the guy did stand up, he goes, "Fine, I'll stand." And the other guy goes, "Thank you."
Thank you.
It just goes right back to hand on the heart, watching the national anthem. And
Well,
it
that
did.
was a
Yeah, go ahead.
the whole weekend at Wrigley Field was quite a celebration for the Cubs because they were doing an honoring of the 2016 World Championship team. So they had a lot of those players back in town, at least the ones who have retired or were available. The ones who are still playing obviously didn't make it. But to have that incident happen, and then Anthony Rizzo, for the second time this year, was in the bleachers and had a home run hit right at him. Last time in the left field bleachers, this weekend in the right field bleachers. I mean, how many games have we all gone to where we never even come close to getting a ball?
I
And
know.
Anthony Rizzo has two balls hit to him in the bleachers.
You
That
know
was
what?
so bizarre.
It's funny you say that. I've I've talked about this, many times whenever we're talking about baseball. Hundreds of games that I've been to, since I was a kid.
Yep.
I've never even been close. I've never even gotten close. Like maybe the closest ball ever was like maybe 30 rows away or something like that. I've never even been like had a realistic chance at a ball. And then you see, you hear about people that, have multiple home run balls or foul balls or whatever it may be. Like they have like a collection of them. And I'm like, how do you do this? I've sat in I've been all over the stadium. I've been to, multiple stadiums. I have never come close to a major league game ball. Have you?
The closest I've come was back in the late 60s. My high school buddy and I went to a Cubs game at Wrigley. We were in the left field bleachers and we got there early for batting practice. So granted, that doesn't count as an official game ball, but there was a ball. We were sitting next to each other, maybe in the second row in the left field bleachers, and Willie Mays hit one out. And my buddy got his hands on it, but wasn't able to hold on to it. So that's the closest that I ever came to a major league ball.
A Willie
landing in my
Mays ball
paws.
also?
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah.
I would have been happy with a stubby clap foul ball. Willie Mays. that would be amazing.
Yeah, so it was batting practice before the game. So granted, it was not an official game ball kind of thing, but still, that was pretty
I'd
cool.
count
But
it.
no, like you, I've never been close at all.
I'd count it, absolutely. One more sports story here, sports-related story here before we dive into some of the other political stories of the day. WNBA star Sophie Cunningham, who makes lots of headlines and really drives some people crazy. Sports people that, have a narrative about athletes and specifically the WNBA. Sophie Cunningham is constantly under their skin. And it's happening again as she last night was on ESPN and revealed her stance on boys playing women's sports. And what a surprise. A female athlete doesn't think that boys should be playing her sport. But somehow that's a controversial statement. Cunningham's recent statement sparked debate on social media after she revealed she is in support of protecting women's sports. What a hot take. She's in support of protecting women's sports. What a monster. She said, quote, "I get a lot of negative feedback about me hating trans. And I'm like, I never once said that. I think that I'm here to extend love, but I also think that with love is truth, being honest. And I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. What a perfect statement. Perfect statement from Sophie Cunningham, who I didn't realize, Stell, is, I don't know how I didn't know this. All the times I've read Sophie Cunningham stories and have been fairly, into this kind of thing. She's from Colombia.
Let me guess. I was just going to say, you probably didn't know that she went to Mizzou.
Yeah, she's from Colombia.
And she's from Colombia,
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, and her statement yesterday got a reaction from all kinds of people, including Senator Eric Schmidt, Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt, who posted a link to one of the articles covering it with a 2-word statement, Missouri proud. I thought that was cool. What do you think about the controversial statement by a professional female athlete that says we should protect women's sports? Crazy, isn't it?
It's so crazy considering it's really a 90-10 subject in the country. I mean, I think 90% of the voters would easily approve of having something where we just keep men out of women's locker rooms, keep men out of women's sports. It's interesting how she's become a real lightning rod for so many different issues because, yeah, she's the protector on the court somewhat of Caitlin Clark and has come to Caitlin's defense on the court and also off the court. But she's had other issues come up here in the last couple of weeks where she's not in the three-point shooting contest at the upcoming WNBA All-Star game, which I think is in Chicago. She was snubbed from that. So the 6 contestants from various teams in the WNBA do not include Sophie. I don't think Caitlin Clark's in it either. I think Caitlin might have stepped out of it. She didn't want to be involved in it. But Sophie should have been in there. She ranked 2nd in three-point shooting in the WNBA at 43.7%.
Wow.
And she's not able to compete. That's a very dubious snub from my perspective. And also ESPN did a lengthy, you mentioned ESPN with Sophie. Folks can go online and read a lengthy article that just came out on Sophie, which is pretty interesting. So you've got the three-point shooting issue, and then they put a poster out, which I think has maybe the top 30 WNBA players. And you would have thought Caitlin Clark and Sophie might have been on there, but they were not included in the poster. There's something kind of weird going on behind the scenes.
It's super weird, and it runs deep, and it is just inexplicable and wild. If you walked around to every American and you asked them to name WNBA players, Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham would be 1 and 2 by so far of a percentage. It's not even crazy, or not even.
Yeah, it would be automatic.
It's just like, but yet the sports world, the league, just seem to do everything that they can to diminish those two at every step. Talking to Stell Ponticus, the great Stell baby. He's going to stick around for another segment here before we talk to our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd. When we talk to Rodney in about 15 minutes, we're going to dig into some of the local issues that are on the ballot this year, especially in the August primaries, which are less than 2 weeks away. But I want to talk about some of the other national stories about races that are going to be a big topic of discussion and a big story across the country when we get to these midterm elections in November, including Darlene Graham, who made the announcement this week that she's not just going to be a placeholder for her brother, Lindsey Graham. She intends to run for that seat and become the permanent senator of South Carolina. I want to talk to Stell about that story and more as we continue here on Colombo and Company next.
Made in St. Louis for St. Louis. It's News Talk STL. If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app
Love the all-new app.
and listen anytime, anywhere.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
Chris Arps here, and after Becky and I leave church on Sunday, we head down the street to Capriotti's to grab a classic meatball sub. I love Capriotti's, and you will too. Visit Capriotti's now at 2 locations on Manchester, McKnight, and Rock Hill, and now in Creve Coeur on Olive, just 1 mile west of 270.
At Body of Health, we're a small but mighty family operation with big ambitions for your health. I'm Helene Tobler, and I'm jazzed about how our MRI-grade body composition analyzer is putting personalized health and wellness on steroids. It helps me and Dr. Tobler, that's my husband, refine the advice we give to help you feel better and live longer. Body of Health, trusted, discerning, affordable health care the way it ought to be. Learn more at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore for Window World. Did you know that in just over the last 20 years, Window World of St. Louis has improved the look and thermal efficiency for over 80,000 customers in St. Louis? Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now, Window World is offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 800-GET-WINDOWS for a free in-home, no-pressure estimate. That's Window World at 800-GET-WINDOWS. They're the preferred window of the St. Louis Blues.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet, I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, oh, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
1 in 8 men, and I was one of them, will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, though the survival rate exceeds 98% when the disease is caught early enough. Councilman Mike Archer and I will share our battles with prostate cancer at 5:20.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio, and Stel Bay, producer Stel Pontique is on the line with us. Stel, what do you think of Darlene Graham, the sister of Lindsey Graham, announcing this week that she is not going to just fill the rest of Lindsey's term for the rest of this year, but is going to run for that seat permanently in South Carolina? We know that she was endorsed by the president, but even when the president made that endorsement before the announcement from the governor there, even he called it a placeholder. But now at least herself and some others are serious about her holding that seat. Don't know a whole lot about Darlene Graham except that she was, really close to her brother Lindsey, but I don't know if that makes her the best person for the job. What do you think of this issue?
I don't know anything about her political acumen or how many different stances she has on different issues. I know very little about her.
Does anybody? Like that's one of my concerns is that does anybody know? All I ever hear about her and her qualifications are that her and Lindsey were really close and that she would continue his legacy. That doesn't tell me anything. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I guess just to be fair, from my perspective, I'll say go ahead and run, and you'll have an opportunity to get your perspective out there through different media outlets in the state so that folks can figure out where you stand on everything, and then let the electorate make the decision and go with that. I hate to say to someone like that, well, you can't run, because that's way too democratic from my perspective.
Yeah.
We're going to pull you, we're going to
Right.
eliminate you and put somebody else in your spot. I say go ahead and give her a chance to run. If she gets eliminated early on, that's fine. At least she gave it her best shot. But I'm very skeptical about why she would even be interested in running, because I have no idea what her perspective is on issues that affect the folks in that state.
I totally agree. I have no problem with her running, none at all. My biggest question is, and the thing that has like gotten my attention the most, is that there are many people out there on the Republican side that are really endorsing her, but they're not telling us anything except about how much she loved her brother. And why are you? I want to know more than about your endorsement and why you're pushing this person, than her relationship with Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the part that's got me like, can we? I'd love to learn more about this person, and for some reason we're not getting that information. I mentioned this earlier this week, but I want to get your thoughts on it. Tim Scott, of course, the other senator there in South Carolina, who also endorsed Darlene Graham initially for this, to serve the rest of Lindsay's seat. He has spoken out in favor of Trey Gowdy. He said he said he doesn't even know if Trey Gowdy wants to do it or will do it, but he said that Trey Gowdy would be a great person to take over that seat in South Carolina. What do you think of that idea about Trey Gowdy coming back to politics?
I'm not a huge fan of Trey Gowdy. I kind of like him. And yes, I did have a chance many times to watch his TV show that he hosted. I think it was on Fox for quite a while. I don't know if he's still hosting it or not, but I've always liked the guy, but I disagree with quite a few of his political stances. And so from that viewpoint, if Trey wants to run, then I say go for it. But I don't want to automatically assume that, oh, yeah, Trey Gowdy would be a great person to take over that slot. And I love Tim Scott, by the way. So I don't know how this is going to progress. It should be an interesting month or two as we make our way towards the future elections. So I'm ambivalent about Trey Gowdy, to be honest with you.
I'm with you. I'm not it's not, we've got our own major decisions here in the state of Missouri we're going to get into with Rodney Boyd here in just a second. There's been plenty of times that I disagree with Trey Gowdy. That I don't line up with him, certainly, 100% of the time. He was one of the things I did like about him. And we do need more of these types in Congress. He was one of the, anytime there was one of these hearings, he was one of the best at the no nonsense questioning, just going right after and not playing the word salad game during various hearings or whatever. I did like about Trey Gowdy.
I agree.
I'd like to see more of those folks in D.C., certainly. Stel, babe, great talking with you, buddy. Great. Stel Ponticus, producer Stel, checking in with us on a Wednesday afternoon. Always appreciate your time, my friend, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Great stuff there from Stel. And as I mentioned, we are going to dig into some of the big issues that are facing Missouri voters this year, not only in the November general elections, but in less than 2 weeks, the August primaries, with some really impactful, important issues on that ballot. We're going to dig into some of them with our Missouri political insider. Rodney Boyd joins us next.
For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
You know what's going on?
Have a great awakening.
You see through the smoke screen.
It's cool to be woke.
News Talk STL.
Until it's not.
News, analysis, opinion.
Hey everyone, this is Jesse from Reach Reproductive Health. And I need you to mark your calendar because on October 22nd, it's going to be a big night in St. Louis. It's going to be our second annual Reach Gala, and it's happening at the factory. Incredible live music, powerful speakers, a night to celebrate life, and to support the Reach mission. Stay tuned to find out who's taking the stage. I promise you won't want to miss it. Registration is open right now at outreachforlife.org/gala.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your politician's Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people. And the politician's Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside 4 and 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the politicians' Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for fair governance.
This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
You're as cold as ice. You're willing to sacrifice all.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Thanks again to Stel Babe, producer Stel Ponticus, for joining us in that last segment. Now, as I mentioned, on the line with us is our Missouri political insider, Rodney Boyd. And Rodney, we are in the home stretch, less than 2 weeks away from these August primaries in the state of Missouri. The ads are everywhere. I'm sure you're having conversations all over the place. But still, my biggest concern is that there's still a lot of awareness that needs to be raised, and a lot of concern about participation and interaction with this all-important August election. How are you feeling here less than 2 weeks before the important day?
If you summed it up quite well, accurately. I think people are starting. I mean, every week we get to talk about this. I have a few conversations that are interesting, one today, but I think some people who are genuinely politically minded are really starting to tune in and pay attention. And I don't know what percentage of the voting population that is, but I think still there's probably a significant number of folks that just aren't on the midterms yet. They may be aware that the midterms are coming, but they're not clear about what issues are on the ballot and what races are on the ballot. So let's deal with the group that I think is starting to pay attention. I was at the bank earlier today to do some paperwork, and the bank officer, we started talking about what I do, and he said, "Hey, I was online yesterday researching these ballot measures." And he said, "Is it okay if, I said, "No, absolutely. I'm happy to talk with you." And he said, "Well, I was just doing my research." And he just said, "I think these both are horrible." And I said, "Well, let's break them out first, because you lumped them together as if they're interconnected, and they're really radically different." And so he started talking, and he said, "Well, I couldn't find a good example of where the tax thing made life better for people who work paycheck to paycheck like me." And then, and I said, "Well, look, let's back up." I said, first thing is you would keep your income tax would go away. So that's your baseline of what your savings would be. And then you think about spending and how you spend, and it's your choice. And he said, "It's funny." He says, "For this thing then." And I said, "Look, I mean, I've got to make my decision. I'm looking at it. I know that the path we're on now is not sustainable, so something's got to give." And and it was just interesting, because here was a guy who had taken the time, he said last night, to read about the measures. And then we talked about the initiative referendum, and he said to me, why are the politicians wanting to change this? And I said, "Well, this is not a political thing. This is a referendum. Like, you are the guy. You and the voters are going to make the decision." And he asked me, he said, "Well, why now?" Like, what are they? So it was interesting because it made me think, and we've talked more about it, but it made me think this guy is just he's a bank officer, nice guy. I have pictures of his grandkids and kids up, and his level of like suspicion, and, like not trusting. It was, and I really wasn't there to deal with all that. And we talked for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but I know that when I left, he was probably still leaning. He said he was going to do some more research. I talked to him about how, one of the big challenges has been how easy it has been to amend our Constitution.
Sure.
And to my surprise, he didn't have a problem with that. He said, "Hey, if the politicians in Jeff City won't do their job, don't we have a right?" And I said, "Well, I get what you're saying, but that right that you talk about extends to anybody who has funds." And he just didn't have a problem with it. So I let it go. I said, I'm not going to, this isn't I don't have enough time to sit here. But it just was interesting,
That's scary. That's scary.
That this gentleman, and he brought it up because I was filling out my occupation, and I explained what I did. Because when I say lawyer, people start talking about what type of law and all that. So he said, "Oh, so you work in? Oh, this is in mind if I ask you." So I think that there's that group of people that are starting to read, and I think somewhere along the way, the ads for the propositions aren't landing the way I think the funders intended.
No, they are not. I agree with that. Look no further than the Missouri Mule. I agree, but you're right. And they're not as loud. They're not as there's not as many. There's the no, particularly on 4, on 5 also. Are just so much more well funded, apparently.
Yeah, and I just think people, and so my concern about these measures stems from the fact that most people, when they read what the measures are trying to do, they won't trust or they won't believe that it's something that's good for them, and people vote their own interest. And then there's the other batch of people that will go vote on August 4th, but first time they really will encounter these measures will be in that ballot box. And we've talked about how that works, right? Mm-hmm. Typically, if you walk into the ballot box and see some very, complicated language proposing to do something that you know very little about, most Missouri voters anyway, show me state voters, just vote no, right? They just feel like they either don't vote on, they leave it blank, or they vote no. Rarely do people encounter a ballot measure, Tony, first impression in the ballot box, read it and go, "Oh, that's something that I think I can be for." So what you're doing is important. You're raising the awareness and asking people to dig into these ballot measures, get the information. There's still 2 weeks, plenty of time. This stuff is not that complicated to really understand. The context might be a little foreign for people who've never dealt with the referendum. And I know there's the number one follow-on question to Amendment 5 is what comes next. And I had a conversation a week ago with a corporate executive who said that the unknown scared him more than the known. He's like, "I'm just more worried about what comes next than what I know I got to deal with now." And it reminded me of the old adage, "The devil that you know might be." So I think the proponents are going to have to somehow, Tony, in the next couple of weeks, to really, as you said, turn the volume up on why these measures are good for Missourians and why they're important, or the natural tendencies and the way people are processing this information doesn't seem to bode well for the measures.
Yeah, and you just that example that you gave is such a good one and touches on so many important things. Starting with Amendment 4 and that idea of, well, isn't that our right? And the answer's yes. In a perfect world, absolutely. But historically, and this is my opinion, of course, all you have to do is look at the way that the amendment process has been, what I would say, abused over the years, specifically in recent years, is that it's very difficult, and I would say impossible, to make the argument that this has been truly the voice of the people that has pushed many of the amendments and constitutional amendments that we have seen over. They almost all are very special interest driven and funded. Go ahead.
and you understand and articulate that very well. So here's a one query: why aren't there ads every day on radio, TV, social media, literally saying exactly that? You could actually have an ad that would have shown the out-of-state groups that passed initiatives and asked the Missouri voters, did you understand that this group, this money, this whatever funded this initiative and changed your constitution? And we want to make sure that if your constitution is changed, it's because you as a Missouri want it changed, and not some national or international group that has the funding to get the petition signature. I mean, that's the ads I think people would have been looking for.
Yeah.
Just really, and this is just taking historical data, putting it in an ad and saying, this is how your constitution has been amended, whatever, 5 or 10 times in the last 20 years. And enough is enough. We want Missourians to make the final say on or control or whatever. But because it hasn't been presented that way, people's natural instinct is someone is trying to take away their right and give it or do something with it that they don't understand. And the proponents have 2 weeks to clear that up. Or like the gentleman I talked with today at the bank, he's reading it. He said, and I applauded him. I said, sir, I really appreciate you taking time after you got off work.
That's great. And if you understand it completely and you still don't agree with me, I don't have any problem with that. It's the lack of information, the lack of understanding, and the lack of engagement that are my biggest concerns. If you are an educated voter and you don't agree with me, I got no problem with that whatsoever.
Tony, it makes sense. So I think the goal is to just get more people to do what the gentleman from the bank did and ask questions and probe. He actually said he was going to read some more. He said he had some different things he started to read last night and ran out of time. But he said, look, Mr. Brown, I'm not done. I'm going to keep studying. And he said, I appreciate the points that you've made. He said, you've given me some insights I didn't have. But my instinct right now is I don't like either of these things. And I said, well, I respect that. But I ask you to keep looking and look at some of the examples and ask yourself, is this the best way for Missouri's Constitution to be amended right now? And ask yourself, if we don't do the income tax change, what will our state look like in 10 years? And so he said he would. He said he was actually going to look up tonight the Tennessee model. So I said, I applaud you. So I think you're right. If people will get the information and make an informed decision, that's all you can ask for, and that's what our system demands. But there's still thousands and thousands of Missourians today that if you were that are planning to vote, that haven't really had the opportunity or made the opportunity to really look at Initiative 4, the referendum change, what it means to amend our Constitution. I get the question. People, like you said, are wondering why now, what's going on? Because there's a natural, we're show-me state people. There's a natural suspicion when something shows up on the ballot.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know what? Having a suspicion of your government and its behavior is very healthy, and I understand that completely. But I think it is a bit ironic in this case that, one of the if somebody would have asked me, like if I was asked that question, why now? And my answer would be because they finally got around to it. Like it doesn't have anything to do with like, oh, this was just the perfect time. Cutting income tax, when like personal property tax, when is that ever going to happen? When is that going to make it on to the ballot? It should have been a long time ago. It's because they finally got around to it, because people finally demanded that they take some action on this. I think it's way more that than it is some kind of strategic planning of like 2026 is the perfect year to do this. So,
well, Tony, you have given in this conversation, you've given two great ads. No, literally, because there's a lot of people that are wondering why now, and it would have been a great ad to say after years of pressuring Jeff City, the legislators finally acted and responded and put these things forward. You know what I mean? Like that would have been a great ad. That would have been a great ad. So there would have been some, and then just talking about all the measures that have amended our Constitution that really weren't organic to Missouri, showing the outside group. Those two ads right there, running them every day on different mediums, probably would have given the Amendment 4 a lot more momentum. 5 is a tough one because people are worried and concerned about what comes next, and there's not really a definitive answer. And sometimes you would have to the governor would have had to just come on TV and say, hey, this is what we're going to do if you give us this option. And, you're going to have a voice and nothing's going to pass unless we hear from and act on what the people's will is in Jefferson City.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you to wrap up the conversation for today. But we're going to talk to Rodney and others. We're going to talk to Missouri State Representative Travis Wilson tomorrow. We're going to have Mayor James Knowles, the former mayor of Ferguson, is going to be with us on Friday. We're going to stay all over this stuff, and we're going to check in with Rodney, a couple times at least before Election Day to continue this. But we covered Amendment 4, Amendment 5 with just a couple minutes left here, Rodney. Is that the biggest problem you think, or the biggest resistance or concern with Amendment 5 is the fact that there's not the next step is not clearly defined before this vote?
Yes, sir. The consistent question/critique I hear is, I'm fine with getting rid of the income tax. What I'm not clear about is what they're going to do, what comes next, what are they going to do, what's going to happen. And it's hard for me to give a clear answer because there isn't a clear answer. That process will play out through the legislative process of analysis, right? And that's what makes people even more concerned. They're like, well, you don't know? And I said, I don't know, because if I tell you something that's not accurate, you're going to say I misled you. So I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be A, B, or C. What I'm telling you is this gives the legislature and the executive branch the ability to sit down and create another plan, and there'll be opportunities to testify, participate. And people, by the time I'm saying all that, people are like, yeah, nah, there's something about that I just don't, I don't buy. And I say to people, I'm not asking you to buy anything except the fact that the income tax model, as archaic as it is not the model of the future for our state. We're going to have to do something different if we're going to really create an economy for the modern era. And this old 1940 whatever tax structure just isn't it. And people are like, I get it.
Yeah.
Rodney, I get it. But what I don't get is what comes next. And one person a while back said, well, they're going to start taxing this or that or this or that and this and that. And so
who knew it would be so hard to eliminate a tax in the state of Missouri? But that is what we're facing. Rodney, unfortunately, we're just about out of time. Look forward to talking to you again very soon as we get even closer to these midterm elections. Less than 2 weeks away. 2 weeks from yesterday, yes. And again, you can get a sample ballot to see exactly what's going to be on your personal ballot just by going to our website, newstalkstl.com. Rodney, we'll talk to you again very soon, my friend. Really appreciate your time as always. Thank you.
Sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Great stuff there from Rodney Boyd. We are going to jump back into some of the news and issues with Pastor John Michael Brown in the 3 o'clock hour. But first, we're going to have some fun. We're going to open up Close's Cabinet with Mark Close from KC95. Next.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
When Donald Trump needs conservative votes to help pass his agenda for Missouri, Representative Tricia Burns never answers the call. Tricia Burns has missed 370 votes. Burns is bucking President Trump's priorities. Burns did not vote to stop DEI initiatives, prevent China from owning Missouri land, defund Planned Parenthood, and Burns did not vote to ban boys from girls' sports. Tricia Burns not showing up for Missouri and President Trump. Instead, Tricia Burns spends her time pulling pranks on the Suicide Prevention Hotline. Yes, you heard that right. Tricia Burns lied to the police and staged a fake suicide emergency. She sent a series of messages to the hotline and said she, quote, had a gun to her head, end quote. When she got caught, she said there'd be no consequences because she's a politician. By August 4th, vote to show Tricia Burns that there are consequences to being bad at your job. Cut the Bull PAC paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken at newstalkstl.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, Gemini Wealth Group, Michael's Funeral Home, and Freddie's Market.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. It has to be done. That sober assessment today from President Trump as he prepared to depart for Dover Air Force Base. That's where he oversaw the dignified transfer of 4 American soldiers killed last week in the war with Iran.
They said, and all of them said very strongly, we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. They won't have a nuclear weapon. So we're going to honor them. And one of the hardest things to do. For me, it's one of the hardest things to do as a president, but has to be done.
It was a political victory for the president on Tuesday. That's when his endorsed candidate, Andy Biggs, captured the GOP nomination for Arizona governor.
Congressman Andy Biggs has won the Republican nomination for Arizona governor. Biggs overwhelmingly defeated fellow Congressman David Schweikert in the primary. He'll face Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs in what could be one of the closest governor races in November. Biggs is a fierce ally of President Trump and was endorsed by the president. Democrats are locked in a close primary contest in a battleground U.S. House district. Emergency physician Amish Shah is leading Marlene Galan Woods for the chance to take on Jay Feely, the former Arizona Cardinals kicker who won the Republican primary with Trump's endorsement. I'm Mike Hempen.
New Jersey officials are now investigating a major voter registration error. We get more details from correspondent Willie Nelson.
New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill says a software error in the state's motor vehicle system mistakenly registered roughly 6,600 non-citizens to vote between June 2023 and June 2024. Officials say about 400 of those individuals went on to cast ballots. The disclosure comes as President Trump has renewed his calls for stronger voter registration safeguards, including support for the Save America Act. Willie Nelson, Washington.
And you'll find more of these stories at townhall.com.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085, 800-555-2085, or biglou.com.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
Beautiful, comfortable summer day out there. We're under partly cloudy skies, but the humidity's down and things are looking pretty good for the rest of the day. The high about 83 today under those partly cloudy skies with the lower humidity. Lows tonight in the mid-60s with low humidity. Tomorrow morning is going to be really, really pleasant. The high tomorrow, 82 degrees. Looks like some rain rolls back in for Friday. I'm the First Alert meteorologist, Kent Earhart.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Business owners, download your free playbook for financial clarity at serenitywealthbiz.com. That's serenitywealthbiz.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Time to open up Close's Cabinet with our buddy Mark Close from KC95. Close's Cabinet brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Our buddy Skip Weber cannot be with us this week, but hopefully Skip will be back with us next week. Well, we do have Mark on the line, and Marker wanted to open with a little Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne. This sounds crazy. Today is the 1-year anniversary of Ozzy's passing. Can you believe that? How that just feels like it absolutely flew by.
Yeah, everything is. I mean, the older you get, the faster it moves. I remember my dad telling me that when I was like 20 years old. I'm like, yeah, stow it, old man. And now it's just
no, it's so true.
It's just so true. Plus the fact, oddly enough, that was our first dance at Fern and I's wedding 44 years ago. So that's we danced to some Black Sabbath. So.
I thought it was Paranoid, not Iron Man, but I guess I was.
Well, yeah, Paranoid came later on after I was married a couple of years. Then it really hit me.
Yeah, no, listen, I used to think it was just a perception thing because the perception of time is so weird. Like, you look back at one thing and it feels like, oh, that was just the other day. And then you can think of something that happened, almost at the exact time, the exact time of similar amount of time that's passed, and it feels like it's so long ago. Like the perception of time is just so weird. But
a buddy of mine's got the best equation because you run into somebody and go, hey man, how you doing? Pretty good. Yeah, well, we need to go. When we have lunch like 6 months ago, whatever you think that time is, double it. If you think we had lunch 2 years ago, it's 4 years. If you ran into somebody a month ago, it was 2 months ago. If you think you saw somebody, 10 years, it's 20. I've used it a bunch of times, and amazingly enough, it hits true. You're usually about a half off where you need to be.
Yeah, that's a really good. I'm going to use that one absolutely. And then on the thing about as you get older, it feels like time passes faster. My co-host from the Buff City Outdoors show, Mark McMurray, who's on with us every Thursday in here, or most Thursdays in here on Colombo and Company as well, is an engineer, has that engineer brain, can turn everything into an equation. And he explained it best, when we were talking about this a couple of years ago off the air. And he was like, think about it. When you're 10 years old, 1 year is a 10th of your life. That's a pretty big chunk. When you're 50 years old, 1 year is a 50th of your life. It's a tiny percentage. So as you get older, years don't seem as long or as big of a part, So as you get older, it actually makes sense that it feels like time passes faster. I think there's something to that.
Right.
Absolutely.
The other good part of that is you get older, you can't remember anyway. If something happened a year ago or 2 years or a week, 20 minutes ago, you're like, what? So you got that going for you too. So getting old, it's fabulous.
Do you feel like because you hear so many people say, I feel like I'm the same person I was when I was 25. I feel like I'm the same person. I'm just in an old. Do you feel that way? Do you look back and look at your early radio days and the things that you were, the things that you guys were doing and the activities you were engaged in and things like that? Do you feel like you could just go back to being that guy right now and you wouldn't miss a beat like I'm that same person? Or does that almost feel like a different person now looking back?
Well, on some things, you look back and again, you think about it, how long, and I mean, especially with me, believe me, brother, when I'm looking, this is year number 54 in radio for me. And you look back and you think about something. And again, you think about, okay, and we reminisce and we tell stories and everybody does that. But I'll tell you the one thing, somebody asked me about growing older. They're like, what do you notice? And the one thing that really hits home to me is recovery time. It's like if we have a band gig on Saturday, I don't go out and play handball on Monday. Or on Sunday. If I play handball on Sunday, I don't do a band gig on Monday. I got to have a good 24 hours recovery time because you think, I can do this. No. If you can, more power to you, brother. But you don't have the juice in the tank
Amen.
like you had before, and it just takes you got to give yourself recovery time to get your body up to snuff. Man, that to me, more than anything, growing old, other than stuff sagging and falling off and being in different places and, hair growing, won't grow on top of my head. It'll grow everywhere else, but not the top of my head. So it's that kind of stuff really hits home too. But that recovery time that's an equation that I got to live by.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And, discovering, pains in places you didn't even think, you could have pain in.
Right.
No,
right.
You're absolutely onto it there. We're talking to Mark Close from KC95. It's Close's Cabinet here on Colombo and Company. And whenever I'm putting together the stuff for these conversations, I try to look and see, what I know Mark will be into. And I'm always safe with music and money. So,
yeah, baby.
What do you think of this? It's been a little bit since the whole penny issue has been in the news, but
right.
I guess I feel like it was like a year ago that they stopped making the penny, but I might apply your equation to this. It could have been 5 years ago, as far as with the way this goes. But anyway, so the government shut down production of the penny. There's still plenty of pennies in circulation, so they're still out there, of course, but they don't make them anymore because it costs more than a penny to make a penny. Paying in cash without regular access to pennies, apparently, though, has started some confusion, and this gets a little bit messy. Some businesses around the country have been rounding to the nearest nickel when giving change. Because pennies, I guess, aren't. Well, first of all, just using cash is not as common as it used to be, and then I guess having pennies are becoming less and less also. So, businesses across the country, some have been just rounding to the nearest nickel automatically. Some states, however, have existing laws that require businesses to give exact change and don't allow businesses to charge more or less to some customers than others as an equality thing. Even if it's just a couple of pennies, it's still against the law, which has led to legal issues all attached to this and getting rid of the penny. So now the United States Congress is working on a bill called the Common Sense Act, and sense is C-E-N-T-S, the Common Sense Act, which theoretically would resolve these problems. It would allow all businesses in the country the option to round cash transactions to the nearest nickel. So that would solve that. But then experts are saying that could force a change to nickels because nickels are more expensive to produce than pennies. Apparently, it costs almost 14 cents to make every nickel. So if we start putting all this prominence on the nickel, experts are saying that we could be in the same issue we were with the penny and maybe even a worse one moving forward. It's a mess. Should we have just left it alone, Mark, or what's going on with the money?
Yeah, I guess weren't they saying it costs like 3 cents to produce a penny?
Something like that.
To produce one penny. And I get it. And it's like, most of the places you go, they got the little dish there with extra pennies if you need to round it out or something. But when you go most places now, it's just like, I'll even tell them, don't worry about the pennies. Just round it up, They'll never round it down. I guarantee you that. So you're not going to not get your money back. But the other thing that's happening, and I'm sure a lot of people are aware, but some maybe not, is that pretty much, I want to say almost across the board now, when you use a credit card, they'll tag 3% on it. Almost across the board, so that if you go to a restaurant and the bill is $40, it's you pay 3% on that 40, which is what, another set of dollars? No, it'd be like 12 cents or whatever it comes out to be.
Right.
So and then the other part of
it's at least 3%. I mean, it's at least 3%. Absolutely.
At 3. And then a lot of places, like I think Busch Stadium and the soccer stadium, they don't take cash. It's all credit. You go to a concession stand, so now you're thinking, all right, no, wait a minute. I can't use cash, but you're going to charge me more. There's a gas station right up the street that's got a credit amount, and then it's got an express amount, which I guess is cash or whatever. And it's a little bit cheaper and stuff.
It saves you pushing like a button or two.
Yeah, whatever. Again, in the long run, you start looking at it and going, okay, yeah, it's like in a period of year, I'll end up saving $1.85. Woohoo! I'm going to Europe, So yeah, it's probably not doing you much good one way or the other, but it's just, and it's amazing, especially with your daughter, your older daughter, and my daughter. I haven't seen my kid pull out cash in 20 years. I mean, everything goes in their card, everything. And I'm like, okay, I mean the big stuff and junk you do, but then you got that surprise at the end of the month when that Visa bill comes in and you're like, why did I charge $2.20 at McDonald's? Shouldn't I pay cash for that? But
it's so easy.
Yeah, it is. It's the way of the world.
It's so easy, and it just is, and you don't see it. You're not handing away your money. You're not giving, you're not giving away your money. It's a lot easier to spend it when you don't see it. But you're exactly right. It was always a thing with my parents and my grandparents. My grandma, every time I left her house, she'd be like, make sure you need a $20 bill. You should always have a $20 bill in your glove box. You should always have a $20 bill, tucked away in your pocket or your wallet or something, because you never know. And, and as long as you have cash on you, you'll always be. That's not even the case anymore. As a parent, I've thought about those types of things. And, if I make sure that my kid has a $20 bill in the glove box of her car, and all of a sudden she's in trouble somewhere and she needs to pay for something, there's no guarantee that $20 is going to help, because, like you said, there's plenty of places that don't even take cash anymore.
Take cash.
It's it's wild.
And it's funny we were talking about this the other day. I lost my wallet on my birthday. Right, first time in 73 years I ever lost my wallet. So I had to cancel the credit card, go to the DMV, get a new ARP card, all that hoo-ha and stuff. What a pain in the butt. Anyway, man. I got it. But and
then you found the wallet. No, go ahead.
It's gonna. I know it's gonna. We're gonna move 20 years from now away to Delmar Gardens. I'm gonna find it somewhere.
It's not. It's gonna be a lot less than 20 years, my friend. Go ahead.
I'm thinking 20 days, but that's just me. But I started thinking about the credit card thing, and then when when your debt rolls over, most credit cards, are like 21, 22% is what you're paying. And then it used to be that if you lost a credit card, you had to be responsible for the first $100 of bad debt going out. In other words, if somebody stole it or you found it and charged, you were responsible for the first 100, maybe then down to 50. Now it's nothing. So now think about it for a minute. How much credit card fraud there is in this country? It's got to be in the billions of dollars. And the credit card companies are still able to eat that and still make a tremendous amount of money. So it's like, when you get your bill and it's like, all right, my Visa card, I owe $3,000 on. And if you make a minimum payment, you'll pay it off like in the year 2091 or something. It's like the minimum payment, you're not even treading water. You're taking on water while you're doing it. So It's just, the numbers on that are just astronomical, that, with the credit thing and even taking and paying for the bad debt that hits. Man, are they making a ton of money.
Oh my God. Yeah. Not only the interest on the debt, but as you mentioned, every place, every business in the country that has a credit card machine, which is millions and millions and millions, every one of those is charged just that bonus, 3% or 5% or whatever it is. That's just free money on top of the other spending and debt and interest payments.
Right.
It's.
And I will say I guess I'm proud of this, or I'm a dinosaur living in the past. I have never, ever in my entire 73 years on this planet used an ATM machine. Because I'm thinking, wait a minute.
That's weird.
I got to pay money
Yeah, you're weird.
to get my money?
Well, not if you go to your bank's ATM machine. You don't have to pay money.
Right. But, I mean, if you're somewhere else and
Yeah.
you need an ATM, but I've never done it, and I just refuse to do it. If I'm at the bank and I just go into the bank, say hello, and cash a check or whatever I need to do, but I'm still writing checks. Hello. Just call me Fred Flintstone. But it's like going to and that's why they put ATM machines in casinos. Can you imagine the numbers that are rolling through that?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then and you talk about the money to get your money out. It's not it's not a $2 service fee at the casino. It's like $10 service fee at the casino. It's funny you say that, like that you've never been to an ATM machine. I bet there are so many people listening, and so many, obviously in the younger generation. I would guess that my oldest daughter falls like that have never done the drive up bank where you talk to the teller.
Absolutely.
That would be just a completely foreign, what am I supposed to do here? What am I'm talking to that lady behind the glass there? What's happening?
What's going on?
Yeah.
I'll bet your oldest daughter, has she ever written a check?
I think so.
Maybe back in
but maybe not. Actually, maybe not. You know what? Now that I don't know. I don't know if she's ever had a checkbook or not. Yeah, maybe not. That's a great point.
Fern was out grocery shopping a couple of months ago, and her debit card was taxed, whatever. So she wrote a check at one of the grocery stores and handed it to the Skippy that was checking her out. And you would have thought she was handing them a rattlesnake.
What in the world is this?
He had to call a manager over, and I think they shut the store down for 6 hours to make sure they could cover this check. But it's,
what on earth is this?
Yeah, and and my friends and I, the favorite line of a friend is change is bad. I can pretty much guarantee you that if you change something, even for the better, and most change is for the better, something is going to go sideways and get screwed up.
Well, this story that started all this is a perfect example of that. This penny story.
Yes.
The penny, they stopped making a penny because it's too expensive to make pennies, and people barely use them anymore anyway. So let's stop using pennies. And then here's and I didn't even get to the end of the line of the avalanche, the dominoes that fell. So now many stores around the country are just automatically rounding to the nearest nickel. However, there are laws in many states that say you can't do that. So now Congress is considering a bill to change that law that would allow stores, every store in the country, to round to the nearest nickel. But then experts are saying that, well, now if you do that, and you put more emphasis and more pressure on people using nickels, that's a problem because nickels cost 14 cents to make. Right. And so that's a problem if we all of a sudden start to need more nickels and use more nickels, because we'll run into the same problem with the penny. And then Congress, the government is looking at ways to make nickels cheaper in case this does happen. But that's a problem because you have to make them available. So it's just like one thing. It's like all the dominoes are falling, and it's crazy. It's ridiculous, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be over anytime soon. We're all going to be dealing with it.
The one good thing about it is, in that whole conversation we just had, I feel good and secure in the fact that Congress is taking care of it, because they've got such an incredible track record of making things smooth and working out the way they want. So I'll sleep better tonight knowing that Congress has got this.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Congress can't pass election legislation. And I'm supposed to think that they can solve the nickel problem. Yeah. They're going to be that they're going to get to that. They're going to get that far down the docket that they're going to be addressing the nickel situation. No way.
Dream.
Yeah.
Yep.
I totally agree. Got a few minutes left here with Mark Close. It's Close's Cabinet on Colombo and Company. A little PSA, perfect for this time of year. And in fact, I'll check this tomorrow when we have our buddy Derek from All Solutions Pest Control. He's going to be in studio with us tomorrow afternoon. So I will check with the expert and see if this checks out to him. But there are some reports and some videos that have started to go viral on social media about ants. You know, this time of year, ants can be a problem in your house.
Yes.
According to this story, experts are saying if you see an ant in your kitchen or somewhere you don't want it to be, your first instinct is to probably squish it. But these experts are saying don't do that because that could actually make your problem way worse. When you squish an ant, according to these reports, it releases pheromones that signal to the other ants in the colony a distress signal. And whenever they get that distress signal, worker ants rush to that ant in an attempt to remove the body. So when you smush an ant, it sends out the distress signal, which calls more ants to that area. So they say, don't squish the ant. And the solution, like this is ever going to happen, is to just, kind of scoop up the ant and go put it outside.
Sure. It's funny.
I'm going to do that.
It's funny you should mention this because, and we've got and they're itty bitty. You can't hardly see them until they start moving. And, like you said, with them communicating, and it was so weird the other day, I saw one and I was going to smush it. And then I read that story and I thought the same thing. And then I looked down and this ant had a little bitty cell phone and he was calling his friends. I didn't smoke, but he was calling them and they showed up. So be careful too. Make sure that they're not connected.
Look real close because I bet he was on the phone with one hand and flipping you off with the other one.
Oh, guaranteed. His little bitty antenna was just telling me to go piss off, big man. So, yeah, guaranteed.
Marker, it's been, we still got some summertime left in front of us here. There's plenty of sunny days and hopefully, fun being outside. I know the band has been super busy playing out and about. Before we let you go, what is the latest with the band or with Keishi? Anything coming up that we need to let folks know about?
Well, one is going to be interesting because you're a former North County boy, correct?
Oh yeah, baby, for 45 years.
All right. Well, we got a fun show coming up on Saturday, August 1st at St. Ferdinand Park.
Yeah.
And they are celebrating their 15th anniversary of their summer concert series. So they very kindly invited us to play. It's a Saturday night. It'll start at 7. To open the show, I've got Danny Liston of Mama's Pride and his guitar player, Matt Rowland. They're going to do a 45-minute opening set. He's going to do Allman Brothers. He's going to do Mama's Pride. He's got some original stuff. Then we're going to hit, Close Quarters is going to hit, and we'll do an hour 15. And to end up the evening, we have the one, the only legendary Billy Peak that's going to be playing. Billy Peak, who was part of Rod Stewart's band for 7 years. Every time you hear the song Hot Legs, that's Billy Peak playing that flying V guitar. He is going to end up the show. It is on Saturday, August 1st, St. Ferdinand Park from 7 until 10. It is free. You can bring lawn care.
Yeah.
You can bring, food and all that. And I'm going to go up early, and I'm going to stop at Old Town Donuts.
Oh, you know it, baby.
The number one donut store in the country for the second year in a row. So if you come out, we're watching, and I miss a beat, I'm eating along, John, man. I'm in the middle of just putting away a donut. So
it's right up the street. It's right up the street from Ferdinand Park, Old Town Donuts.
Perfect.
It's perfect location for that. And yeah, all those years playing softball at Ferdinand Park when these concert series shows were happening. There's just tons of people pouring into the park. It's a great atmosphere for that type of show. And what an awesome lineup. What an awesome night. That is
going to
be
fun.
super cool.
Tell your mom.
I
know
will.
She's a big close quarters fan.
I will, absolutely. Could be a really good reason to go visit the old stomping grounds up there in North County. That's great stuff.
Right, and we'll and just a thought, we always put out a little tip bucket. So if you'd like to throw a donut in there instead of cash, I'll be glad to take that also.
I'll throw some pennies in there, and you can deal with
the pennies. The nickels that cost 14 cents, and we'll give you change back afterwards. So what a deal.
Marker, great stuff, buddy. Mark Close from KC95. Great talking with you as always. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you again soon.
See you, buddy.
See ya. And that, of course, Close's Cabinet and it's brought to you by Weber Chevrolet. Unfortunately, our buddy Skip Weber couldn't be with us this week, but, of course, Weber Chevrolet, 3 locations around St. Louis to serve you, Creve Coeur, Missouri, Granite City, and Columbia. In Illinois, the Weber family has been in the St. Louis area for almost 125 years. Next year, they turn 125. Half the time that the country has existed, Weber Chevrolet has been a part, or the Weber family has been a part of the St. Louis community. And as I always say, you don't stick around that long in the same community if you're not doing right by that community and by your customers. And, of course, we're talking about local music there with Mark Close. Nobody's done more for the local music scene over the years than Skip Weber and the team at Weber Chevrolet, as well as so many other local charities and events that they have supported. And, of course, nobody's going to give you more on your trade-in. Nobody's going to give you a better deal for a new or used car, and nobody's going to take care of you in that vehicle for the entire time that you have it better than the team at Weber Chevrolet. Check out what's happening at all 3 Weber Chevrolet locations right now just by going to WeberChevrolet.com. And keep it here. We're going to talk to Pastor John Michael Brown. He's going to be with us in a little more than 10 minutes from now. First, I want to dive back into some of the news of the day, including New York Mayor Zoran Mamdani admitting that the fight is over. We've been talking about this for about a week now. Zoran Mamdani trying to make the case that he is going to and even has the ability to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Today, he put out a statement and video saying what we all knew. He can't. He does not have that power. And so I want to talk about what the socialist mayor said today and some of the reaction to that and more as we continue here on Colombo and Company next.
Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is 101.9 and 94.1.
Female millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Fox News commentary with Laura Ingraham next.
Most investments today feel like second jobs. Real estate, you're a landlord. Stocks, you're a day trader. Crypto, you're a full-time researcher. You've got a life to live. Your investment should help you live it. That's why more Americans are choosing gold. Noble Gold has helped thousands protect their future with real physical gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to get your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals, including gold, involves risks. Consult with your tax attorney or financial professional before making an investment decision.
Ingram's reality check on what the socialist agenda really means for Americans.
No more drug enforcement, okay? It means drugs will flood your neighborhood. No more ICE or border enforcement, so your wages will be depressed by a never-ending flood of foreign workers. And a living wage? Not if businesses have an unlimited number of migrants to choose from. Oh, and also no more mandatory minimums for criminals or cash bail. Goodbye safety in suburbia. So that's great for criminals. It's terrible for women and children, men too. But wait. They promise free college for all. Well, forget the how they're going to do that. We've already tried high school education for all that's free. Look at what happened there. With liberals mostly in control, classroom learning has been replaced with pass-through education.
For more commentary like this, go to foxnewspodcast.com.
Producer Joey V of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here, reminding you, don't waste a buck on movies that suck. Listen to Joey V's Movies Fridays at 5:45 for reviews you can trust. Brought to you by Harry J. Steakhouse, Freddy's Market, AAA Motor Speedway, and Best Buy Flooring.
At Body of Health, we're a small but mighty family operation with big ambitions for your health.
I'm Helene Tobler, and I'm jazzed about how our MRI-grade body composition analyzer is putting personalized health and wellness on steroids. It helps me and Dr. Tobler, that's my husband, refine the advice we give to help you feel better and live longer. Body of Health, trusted, discerning, affordable health care the way it ought to be. Learn more at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
The radical left let crime and drugs pour into our nation, and they let biological men into girls' sports. But here in Missouri, if there's a problem, we fix it. That's why Ann Wagner's fixing the mess the radical left made and delivering for us. Wagner voted to ban biological men from competing in girls' sports, and she voted to fund the police and provide more resources for Border Patrol agents, keeping our families, communities, and children safe. And Ann Wagner didn't stop there. In Congress, Wagner passed the largest working-class tax cut in American history, kept big government out of our business, protected our way of life, and ensured our communities remain safe. That's why Ann Wagner's endorsed by the Missouri Farm Bureau and Missouri Fraternal Order of Police. Vote Ann Wagner for Congress on August 4th.
I'm Ann Wagner, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Ann Wagner for Congress.
Summer is here at Daniel's Farm and Greenhouses on Juggerman in St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pots of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farm and Greenhouses. Visit us today on Juggerman or online at danielsfarmandgreenhouses.com.
When decisions matter most, experience isn't optional. As a former SWAT commander, Tim Whitney has led Under Pressure. Today, as Undersheriff and Chief Financial Officer, he helps lead hundreds of employees, manages one of the county's largest budgets, and protects taxpayers with conservative accountability.
I'm Tim Whitney, and I'd be honored to earn your vote. Together we can support responsible growth, strengthen public safety, protect taxpayers, and preserve the character that makes Jefferson County home.
Paid for by friends of Tim Whitney. Heather Missy, Treasurer.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
The story behind the story, the Cadillac Ranch in Texas, and my personal connection to it.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
You made me cry when you said goodbye. Ain't that a shame?
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.994.1 News Talk STL. Great stuff there with Mark Close from KC95, Close's Cabinet here on Colombo and Company. And in just a few minutes, we are going to be joined live on the air by Pastor John Michael Brown. It's been a while since we talked to Pastor Brown. I want to talk to him about, this has been prevalent lately, and it's more prevalent than ever in politics and in the news, and also in Hollywood, in the media and movies and television. I just talked to him about Christianity in America and the impact, if there is any, which I would think that there is, the impact that the idea of, any other religion, basically, except Judaism, I guess, is off limits. You can never criticize, people or actions, or faith from other religions. But Christianity is it's all you can eat. You can say anything that you want, and church attendance and people expressing their faith has already been on a decline for many years, and I wonder if this has continued that or had any impact on it. People who maybe otherwise would go to church are embarrassed or shamed for doing so, or they keep their faith hidden like, it's some kind of embarrassment, and just kind of the impact that that's had on the church and society, and kind of go from there with the conversation. So I'm looking forward to having Pastor Brown on the phone here in just a few minutes. Good time to remind you, if you missed that conversation that we had with Mark, or you want to make sure you never miss any of these great conversations like the one we're about to have with Pastor John Michael Brown, make sure you subscribe to our podcast, because we put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every day. We put it on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you get podcasts on that platform, just subscribe to Colombo and Company, and you won't miss anything that happens on the show. Before we talk to the pastor, I wanted to fill you in about Zoran Mondani. The New York City socialist mayor was widely mocked on social media last night and today after announcing that one of his campaign platforms, something that he ran on, which is arresting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, is not a tool he has at his disposal. This is something that we've been talking about in recent days, but have talked about since he made the statements back when he was running for mayor. But he has, in recent days and weeks, doubled down and tripled down on, I have the New York City law offices and the attorneys of the city that are exploring every option that we have and our path forward to try to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, because of the charges filed by the International Criminal Court, which is an organization that the United States doesn't even recognize as having any authority over anything, let alone he's the mayor of a city, not a world leader or a representative of the federal government. And this is a world leader, another leader on the world stage. But he has doubled and tripled down and said that he's moving forward and they're going to do this. And he's got the full power of the New York City legal team on this and making it happen, until last night when he posted a video that, when I looked at it earlier, it was viewed almost 40 million times. This was hours ago, so a lot of people have seen this. He still called Netanyahu a war criminal and said he deserves to be arrested, but basically that he can't, even though he promised he would, ran on it, and has doubled and tripled down recently. As we all knew, and as the laws have said, and every legal expert has discussed, this is not something that the mayor of a city can do. Tim Scott, the senator, I thought had one of the best reactions to the video, saying, quote, Zoran Mamdani calling Benjamin Netanyahu a war criminal is utterly ridiculous. The same crowd that rushes to condemn Israel never has as much to say about the terrorists who started the war, massacred civilians, raped women, kidnapped children, and still hide behind their own people. Mamdani wants the headline that comes from attacking Netanyahu, not the consistency that comes with confronting Hamas. Well said, and what a surprise. It's officially over. Zoran Mamdani will not be arresting Benjamin Netanyahu anytime soon. All right, as I mentioned, we are going to get Pastor John Michael Brown on the line with us. He joins us next on this busy Wednesday afternoon on Colombo and Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow Tony Colombo on Twitter at Tony Colombo Talk.
Bill, you're an old politician.
Yup, sure am.
So you know the old-timers warned that someone trying to sell you a pig in a poke was a con man.
Well, sure.
Well, no offense, Tom, but your Politicians Amendment 5 is a pig in a poke, allowing politicians to raise our taxes without a vote of the people, and the Politicians Amendment 4 takes away our power to do anything about it. Well, let's look at what's really inside Forward 5.
Oh, don't do that.
5 hits hardest seniors and those struggling financially with new taxes on services like doctor visits, in-home care, and rent. Sales taxes could more than triple. For up to 80% of Missourians, it's a tax hike. And Amendment 4 ends majority rule, allowing a minority of the most liberal statewide voters in one district to effectively end our power to stop corruption and out-of-control spending and taxing.
Slick plan, huh?
No, Tom. 4 and 5 are schemes that hurt citizens and transfer our power and our money to politicians and lobbyists. That's why I'm voting no on the Politicians Amendments 4 and 5, paid for by Missourians for fair governance.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
The Mosquito SWAT team is growing. We're looking for licensed 7A pest control technicians to join our Baldwin-based team. Learn more about this career opportunity at themosquitoswatteam.com. That's themosquitoswatteam.com.
Welcome back to Colombo and Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. Got about 15 minutes here before we turn things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. And joining us now on the line, as I mentioned a moment ago, it's been a long time since we've had Pastor John Michael Brown on the air with us. Even though it's been, I talk to John Michael all the time, and we've referenced him in our conversations with Gabe Pfeiffer. And one of the stories, one of the stories I've gotten the most reaction to, more people have brought up to me more than, anything recently, was when my daughter had us trapped in the car. John Michael is riding shotgun. The pastor of the church is riding shotgun in my truck, and my daughter hits me with the, "Hey, Dad, you going to church this weekend?" And that was the laugh you heard just now from the passenger seat, because I was trapped. You got the pastor in the car, and you're asked if you're going to church that weekend. So guess where my butt was that Sunday? Right there in church.
Yeah. I guess you.
Pastor John Michael Brown.
TV more often.
That's right. Pastor John Michael Brown's on the line with us. Great to talk with you, my friend. How are you?
I'm marvelous, brother. You doing all right?
Yeah, hanging in there, just trying to keep up with everything happening in this crazy world. The reason I want to have you on, and we've talked about this many times in the past, both on and off the air, but it's been prevalent here recently, and it continues to just be kind of the norm when it comes to politics, when it comes to commentary on social media, when it comes to Hollywood. Religions and Christianity, I think already, as we've talked about, there's a decline in church attendance, and there's been, people leaving the church, not in massive numbers, but, over the years that continues to be enough of a struggle. But in 2026, Christianity is the one religion, maybe outside of Judaism, that you can demonize, you can tear down publicly, and not only not get any pushback for it, but in many cases, you get celebrated for it. But other religions are completely off limits and, shouldn't be criticized in any way. And I'm not even saying that you shouldn't be able to criticize, anything, Christianity or anything, but there's no doubt about it. And I'd love your thoughts on this, Pastor. But it appears to me that there's no doubt about it that there's a massive double standard when it comes to the way we talk about Christians and the way that we talk about other religions. Would you agree?
Definitely. I think that is the case. It just seems like, and a lot of major religions hold similar views on, say, social issues that Christianity is spoken against about, homosexuality, as an example, that the major religions, some, even have worse views
of
homosexuality and how to respond to it. But yet Christianity is the one that is allowed to be spoken against.
Yeah.
It's the one that's demonized. People don't even think about the seriousness of some of these issues in these other societies. But we live in America where Christianity was, this foundational belief system. And I think people are often ignorant of the rest of the world and how, some of these things play out. But, that's we're spoiled living in America with all these freedoms and.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. But it's really been on, and it's kind of it's similar to what I talked about during the World Cup when, like other countries, when you see people from other countries and sporting events especially, and it was on display with the World Cup, when they're singing their own national anthem or they're wrapped in their flags, then the media and the politicians over here are like, look at that beautiful patriotism. Look at how much they're into their country and how much they support their people. But if you're over here and you sing the national anthem at a sporting event or you wrap the American flag around you, you're some kind of weirdo. Same thing with prayer. Same thing with prayer. If there's a Muslim praying or some other, like exercising their religious beliefs, it's like, oh, that's beautiful and give them the space to do so. But if you say like, hey, I want to pray with my kids before a game or something like that, it's like, what do you mean? What are you doing? That's inappropriate to be praying here. You're like, it's a total double standard. And my question is, does that have an impact, you think, on Christians across the country as far as like, outreach, growth within the religion? People like shying away from going to church because, they get stigmatized or, shamed for it, or they're afraid to talk about their faith because they feel like they're going to get shouted down? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different responses. I mean, I think there's that response that churches that are more apt to speak out on political, significant political issues. Sometimes people stop going to those, and that may be just because they don't want to be associated. Maybe it's because they have another response that happens is that rather than letting the biblical foundations establish what people believe and what they stand on, they let society dictate to their religion. And so they're changing their beliefs, not because they can make an argument based in their faith documents, their faith foundations, but rather because, society, that's just ancient, they're just outdated and stuff. And so those people find themselves offended by a church that would speak more clearly, more biblically. I mean, I'm all for people. You believe what you want, but if you want to talk about what the Bible says, it's not that hard to understand what it says, about certain issues. And if you have a problem, take it up with the author.
Right. Yeah. But you're right. Like if you have an issue with, let's turn to the page. Let's look at it. Let's talk about it right now. It's not, it's not like hard to find or have that conversation. But okay, so as a Christian leader, how do you combat, maybe for lack of a better word, this stigma or this idea, this thing that's put forth in public, and like, do you try to publicly, confront it? Is it just something that you just deal with, by just making sure you're preaching the word every Sunday? Like, what can you do, if anything, to combat that?
I find it encouraging. I mean, in the sense that why is, from a spiritual standpoint, why is it that Christianity is the one that is off limits? And like you say, Judaism, because Christianity is, I wouldn't say an extension, but a fulfillment of Judaism, right? That Christianity is saying that we see the completion in Christ, and all the prophecies and all that Judaism is found in Jesus Christ. So if that's the religion, the only religion that's off limits, well, from a spiritual warfare standpoint, it's an encouragement to say we're the ones that are right. It does, the old saying that all roads lead to the mountaintop, and I say, well, some people are going to get to the top and find out they're going to fall in a volcano. You're not on the right, you're not on the right mountain, because so I think it's that I see Christians responding this way, that they can become very, I think, politically militant. I believe in standing up for your rights, and And I believe that's biblical. The Apostle Paul, whenever he was confronted by Judaism, he appealed to Caesar because he knew his rights. And I think that it's one thing to know your rights and to exert those rights, but I'm not inclined to become a militant kind of a person where you're out attacking other people. But I think it's very appropriate to defend your own faith. And I am one. I mean, you know this, that I've described myself as an agnostic theist because I believe that ration and reason points, in my personal experience, point to the existence of God. But I'm one that will rationally address these things. Let's step outside of what the religious documents say, and let's address things like, transgenderism or whatnot. And what does that do to society? And what does that say about humanity? And, so I think that.
And what kind of impact does it have? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, when you lose all these boundaries, so it just opens the door. And does it make logical sense? Does it make, those types of things? I had an atheist associate, the guy that I would communicate with when I was more on Facebook, and he was the one that talked about homosexuality being the end of humanity, but he was using it as an argument why Christians make such a big deal, right? Because so it was the reality that there's no procreation, that you lose that aspect in humanity.
I love these are such important topics, and I think often we don't come at them from the standpoint of religion and Christianity. And I think that part of the conversation is deeply missing from so many of these issues. And so I'd love to get you back on sometime really soon. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time here. Pastor John Michael Brown, time flies, buddy, especially when you're talking about really important stuff. You know it. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, as always. And let's definitely do it again really, really soon. Thanks so much.
Sounds like a plan, man.
Yeah, great stuff there. Pastor John Michael Brown here on Colombo and Company, which we are about to wrap up here. It's time to hand things off to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. Ashlyn and I, Colombo and Company, will be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you never miss anything that happens here on the show. And keep it here for Larry Connor's commentary, then the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show here on News Talk STL.
John Beal knows that right after a hailstorm, new roofing companies start popping up everywhere. But the Small Business Administration reports 96% of them go out of business within the first 5 years. So how good is that warranty? John Beal started in the roofing business helping his granddad and his dad. Always offering the best roof, best price, best guarantee. John Beal Roofing, not some fly-by-the-night operation. Call my friend John, 1-800-NEW-ROOF, 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
I cannot remember the last time I've ever quoted a member of a hardcore punk band. In fact, this might be the first time. Why now? I'll explain in a moment. CNN political analyst Van Jones is concerned the Democrat Party is being ripped apart